Captain Ginley pressed his palm against the cold metal of the viewport, watching death approach in the form of sleek alien warships. The Krallian fleet stretched across the star field like a dark plague, their ships gleaming with an otherworldly blue light that made his stomach turn. 50 massive vessels against Terra Station's pathetic defense force of one patrol ship, and whatever makeshift weapons they could cobble together from mining equi. "Clement, sir, they're beautiful," whispered Sue Park, the station's head engineer, as she joined him at the observation deck. Her voice carried a mix of terror and admiration that Jin understood completely. The Krallian ships moved like living creatures through space, their hulls rippling with energy patterns that seemed almost organic. Each vessel was the size of a city block, bristling with weapon ports that glowed like angry eyes. Bokim, Sue's assistant engineer, was frantically checking his tablet, sweat beading on his forehead despite the station's cooler recycling system. "Captain, the energy readings are off the charts. Each of those ships packs enough firepower to glass an entire planet. We're looking at technology that's centuries ahead of anything Earth has ever built." From the weapons bay below, Han Cho's voice crackled through the comm system. "Jin, you need to see this. I've been analyzing their approach patterns through our defense scanners. These things aren't just advanced. They're smart. Watch how they're positioning themselves." Jin activated the holographic display in the center of the observation deck. The blue projection showed Terra Station as a tiny dot surrounded by the approaching Krallian formation. The alien ships weren't just flying in a random attack pattern. They were moving like a pack of space wolves, covering every possible escape route while maintaining perfect formation. Each ship knew exactly where the others were, creating an invisible net that would trap anything trying to flee. "We've done this before," Jin muttered, studying the tactical display. 12 systems. Bo said, "That means they've perfected this dance of death on 12 different worlds, against 12 different species." Sue moved closer to the hologram, her engineer's mind automatically analyzing the alien technology. "Look at their whole composition. Captain, our scanners can barely penetrate their outer armor. It's like they're made of some kind of adaptive metal that shifts and changes based on incoming threats and those energy signatures. They're not using fusion reactors like us. This is something completely different." The station's emergency lighting flickered red as proximity alarms began their haunting wail. Through the speakers, the automated defense system announced in its emotionless voice, "Warning. Multiple hostile contacts detected. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill." Jin watched the Krallian ships slow their approach. Now close enough that he could make out individual details on their hulls. Strange symbols glowed along their sides, probably writing in an alien language that humanity had never seen before. The ships seemed to pulse with their own heartbeat, as if they were alive rather than constructed. "Captain," Han's voice came through the comm again, tight with barely controlled fear. "I'm reading massive energy buildups in their forward weapon rays, whatever they're planning to hit us with. It's going to make our plasma cannons look like water guns." Bo was pacing now, his nervous energy filling the small observation deck. "Sir, maybe we should try to contact Earth Command. Let them know what's happening out here. If these Krallians are planning to push deeper into human space, Earth Command is 6 days away at maximum burn." Jin interrupted. "By the time our message reaches them, and they scramble a response fleet, Terra Station will be nothing but floating debris. We're on our own out here." Sue turned from the hologram, her face set with the kind of determination that Jin had learned to respect during their 3 years serving together on the frontier. "Then we make them remember us. Every species they've conquered before probably rolled over and died quietly. But they've never fought humans before." The Krallian fleet had stopped moving, hanging in space like predators studying their prey. Jin could feel the weight of alien eyes examining every inch of Terra Station, cataloging its defenses, calculating the most efficient way to reduce it to space dust. The silence stretched between the species, to different forms of life meeting. For the first time across the vast emptiness of space. "You know what I find interesting?" Jin said quietly, still staring at the alien ships they're waiting. "These creatures have conquered 12 worlds, but they're taking their time with us. Maybe they're curious about humans. Maybe they want to see what we'll do." Han's voice crackled through the speakers one more time. "Captain, whatever we're going to do, we better decide fast. Those energy readings are still climbing. I think they're charging up for something big." Jin smiled grimly at his reflection in the viewport, seeing his own face superimposed over the image of the alien fleet. "Then let's show them what humans do when we're cornered." The communication channel crackled to life with a sound that made every human on Terra Station freeze in terror. It wasn't just the alien voice that chilled their blood, but the perfect, emotionless English that came through their speakers. The Krellian commander had learned their language, probably by studying the wreckage of the 12 conquered worlds, humans of Terra Station. The voice was like grinding metal mixed with the hiss of escaping gas. "You will power down all defensive systems immediately. Surrender your station and prepare for processing. Resistance will result in immediate termination. You have 60 seconds to comply." Jin Lee stood in the command center, surrounded by his crew who were all looking at him with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. The alien ships hung in space like sleeping giants, their weapon systems glowing brighter with each passing second. He could feel the weight of every decision pressing down on his shoulders. "Captain," Yushin whispered from her tactical station, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "I'm reading massive power spikes from their lead ship. Whatever they're planning to hit us with, it's going to punch through our shields like paper." Jin activated the station's main communication ray, knowing that his next words would either save his people or doom them all. He took a deep breath and spoke into the microphone with the kind of calm that only comes from accepting death. "Krellian Commander, this is Captain Jin Lee of Terra Station. I have a message for you and your fleet." He paused, looking round at his crew one last time. "Come and take it." The silence that followed lasted exactly 3 heartbeats before the first Krellian ship opened fire. A beam of pure energy, brighter than a star, lanced through space and slammed into Terra Station's main shield generator. The entire structure shook like a leaf in a hurricane, throwing everyone to the deck as sparks erupted from control panels. Throughout the command center, shields down to 40%. Bokim shouted over the alarm klaxons. "Captain, that was just their opening shot." But Yushin was already moving, her tactical mind shifting into combat mode like a switch being flipped. "Jin, remember what we used to blast through those asteroid fields? The mining charges, the ore extractors, the industrial plasma cutters. You want to fight alien warships with mining equipment," Sue Park called out from her engineering station, her hands flying over the controls as she tried to reroute power to the damaged shield generators. "Not fight them," Yushin grinned, her fingers working the tactical display like a concert pianist. "Confuse them. Han, can you jury-rig the mining charges to fire through the cargo bay doors?" Honcho's voice came through the comm from the weapons bay, excitement cutting through the fear in his voice. "Already on it. I'm loading the industrial plasma cutters into the torpedo tubes. They're not designed for combat, but they'll punch holes in whatever they hit." The second Krellian ship fired, and this time Terra Station was ready. Yushin had redirected the station's rotation, using the massive structure's own spin to deflect the energy beam across their hull instead of taking it head-on. The shot scorched a line of melted metal across the station's surface, but didn't penetrate to the vital systems inside. Impossible. The Krellian commander's voice crackled through the speakers. "Your defensive systems are primitive. You cannot deflect our weapons. Watch us, Jin muttered, as Yushin launched their counterattack. The first mining charges exploded out of Terra Station's cargo bays like a shotgun blast. Spreading across space in an expanding cloud of destruction, the Krellians had been expecting. Missile attacks or energy weapons. Not a barrage of industrial explosives that detonated at random intervals. Their perfect formation wavered as the lead ships tried to dodge the unexpected assault. But Yushin wasn't finished. She had reprogrammed the stations or extractors, massive machines designed to strip mine asteroids and turn them into space artillery. The extractors fired streams of superheated plasma that carved through the vacuum like orange. Lightning, forcing the alien ships to break their attack pattern. Captain, look at this. Bokim pointed to the tactical display. His voice filled with amazement. They're backing off. The Krallian ships are actually retreating. Through the viewport, Jin could see the alien fleet pulling back, their perfect formation now scattered and confused. The lead ship was trailing some kind of glowing gas from a gash in its hull where one of the plasma cutters had found its mark. Sue Park was laughing now, the sound echoing through the command center as she watched the alien ships struggle to understand what had just happened. They've conquered 12 worlds, and they can't figure out how humans fight. Look at them. They're trying to analyze our weapon systems, but we're not using weapons. We're using tools. The Krallian commander's voice came through the speakers. Again. But this time there was something different in the alien's tone. Uncertainty. Human commander, your defensive systems do not match our tactical database. Explain your weapons technology. Jin smiled as he activated the communication ray. Those aren't weapons, alien. That's just Tuesday afternoon maintenance work. Wait until you see what we can do when we're actually trying to fight. The alien fleet continued to pull back. Their ships now maintaining a much more respectful distance from Terra Station. Through the tactical display, Jin could see them running deep scans on the station, trying to understand how humans had turned industrial equipment into effective weapons. They're confused. Yushin reported, studying the alien ship movements. Look at their formation patterns. They keep starting attack runs and then aborting them. They can't predict what we'll do next because we're not following any standard military doctrine. That's because we don't have standard military doctrine. Han's voice came through the comm, filled with dark humor. We're making this up as we go along. The Krallian fleet settled into a perfect circle round Terra Station, like vultures waiting for their prey to weaken and die. Captain Jinli hadn't slept in 3 days, surviving on stimpaks and pure determination as he watched the alien ships through the command center's main viewport. The creatures had learned from their first encounter with human tactics, and now they were playing a different game entirely. Day 4 of the siege. Captain, now one reported from her communications station, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. The Krallians are jamming all our long-range transmissions, but I've been bouncing signals off the asteroid field. Some of our messages are getting through to the outer colonies. The station shuddered as another Krallian probe ship fired a testing shot at their shields. It wasn't meant to destroy them, just to wear them down slowly. The aliens had figured out that humans were dangerous when cornered, so instead of a direct assault, they were trying to starve Terra Station into submission. Min Jiang crawled out of a maintenance shaft, his engineering uniform torn and stained. With hydraulic fluid, the chief engineer looked like he'd been wrestling with the station's mechanical systems for days, which was exactly what he'd been doing. Jin, we've got problems. The life support systems weren't designed to handle this kind of extended siege. Carbon dioxide levels are climbing, and our air recyclers are working at maximum capacity. How long do we have? Jin asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to hear the answer. Maybe 3 more days before the air becomes toxic. Min wiped sweat from his forehead, leaving a streak of grease across his face. But I've got an idea. It's crazy, and it'll probably kill us all. But it might work from her station. Sue Park looked up from the engineering displays she'd been monitoring. Min, please tell me you're not thinking about overcharging the atmospheric processors again. Remember what happened last time? That was different. Min grinned. The kind of smile that made everyone in the command center nervous. This time, I want to rig the life support to run beyond safe parameters. We boost oxygen production by 200%, increase air circulation, and override every safety protocol in the system. Bokyam stopped his work on the shield generators, his face pale. Min, those safety protocols exist for a reason. If we push the systems that hard, the whole station could suffer catastrophic decompression, or we could all suffocate slowly when the air runs out. Min shot back. Look, the Krellians are betting that we'll surrender when our life support fails. They don't understand that humans would rather die fighting than live as prisoners. Now, one suddenly straightened at a communications station, pressing her earpiece tighter against her head. Captain, I'm getting responses from the outer colonies. New Seoul Station confirms they received our technical data. So did the mining platforms in the Kebler system. What kind of responses? Jin moved to her station, hope flickering in his chest for the first time in days. They're not just receiving our messages, sir. They're implementing our tactics. The colony on Titan 7 just fought off a Krellian scouting party using modified construction. Equipment. The asteroid miners in the belt are sharing information about turning industrial tools into weapons. The station shook again as another probe blast tested their defenses through the viewport. Jin could see the alien ships maintaining their perfect formation, waiting patiently for Terra Station to collapse from within. But now, he realized something the Krellians hadn't counted on. They think they're just besieging one human outpost. Jin said slowly, understanding dawning in his voice. But every day we hold out. Every message no one sends, we're teaching other humans how to fight them. Hancho's voice crackled through the comm system from the weapons bay. Captain, I've been watching their patrol patterns. The Krellians are getting nervous. They keep sending scout ships closer to the station, like they're trying to figure out why we haven't surrendered yet. Min Jiang was already heading back toward the maintenance shafts. His engineering kit slung over his shoulder. I'm going to start the life support modifications. If we're going to be the example for the rest of humanity, we better make sure we stay alive long enough to matter. Wait, Sue Park called after him. If you're going to override the safety systems, let me help. 2 engineers are better than 1, especially when we're trying to do something this insane. As Min and Sue disappeared into the bowels of the station, Jin turned his attention back to the tactical display. The Krellian ships were beautiful in their own alien way, but there was something mechanical about their movements, like they were following a program rather than adapting to circumstances. Now, how many colonies have responded to our messages? 17. Confirmed. Captain, and the number keeps growing. It looks like word is spreading faster than the Krellians can stop it. She paused, pressing her earpiece again. Sir, I'm getting something new. It's a message from Earth Command. The entire command center fell silent. Earth Command was the heart of human space defense, but it was also 6 days away at maximum burn. Whatever message they were sending had been transmitted before the siege even began. What does it say? Jin asked quietly. Na Won's face went pale as she read the transmission. Captain, it's a general alert. The Krellians aren't just attacking Terra Station. They've launched simultaneous assaults on 12 human colonies across 3 different systems. We're not just under siege, sir. Humanity is at war. Through the viewport, The alien ships continued their patient circle, like sharks waiting for their prey to bleed out. But now Jin understood that Terra Station wasn't just fighting for its own survival every hour. They held out. Every tactical innovation they developed, every message they sent was giving humanity the tools it needed to survive its first interstellar war. Then we better make sure we're still here when the cavalry arrives, Jin said grimly, watching the Krellian ships patrol the edges of space around them. The 8th day of siege began with Terra Station running on fumes and pure human stubbornness. The air tasted metallic from Menjiang's overcharged life support systems, and everyone moved with the careful precision of people who knew they were living on borrowed time. Captain Jinli stood in the command center, watching the Krellian fleet maintain their perfect circle of death around the station. John Park, the station's senior analyst, had been studying alien communication patterns for the past 3 days, without sleep. His eyes were bloodshot and his hands shook from too much caffeine. But something in his expression made Jin pay attention when he looked up from his workstation. "Captain, I think I've figured something out." John's voice was hoarse, but excited. "I've been analyzing every Krellian transmission, every tactical movement, every decision they've made since the siege began. There's a pattern, but it's not what you'd expect." Jin moved to John's station, where multiple screens displayed charts and graphs that looked like abstract art. "What kind of pattern?" "They're trying to understand us," John explained, pointing to a complex diagram showing Krellian ship movements. "Look at this. Every time we do something unexpected, they pause their attack and analyze our response. They're not just trying to defeat us. They're trying to learn how humans think." From across the command center, Yushin looked up from her tactical display. "That explains why they've been testing our defenses instead of just overwhelming us. They conquered 12 other species, but we're the first ones who fought back in ways they couldn't predict." "Exactly." John nodded eagerly. "But here's the thing, Captain. I've been running their behavioral patterns through our computers, and there's something they can't seem to process. Every calculation they run assumes that all decisions are based on logical self-preservation." The station shuddered as another probe blast tested their weakening shields. Through the viewport, Jin could see the massive Krellian command ship, easily 3 times larger than any other vessel in their fleet. It hung in space like a metal moon, bristling with weapons that could reduce Terra Station to atoms. "Sir," Kinam's voice came through the comm system from the engineering section. "I've been listening to John's analysis, and I think I have an idea. It's completely insane, but it might be exactly what we need." Kinam had been working with Menjong to keep the station systems running beyond their design limits. She was young, barely 25. But she had the kind of brilliant mind that saw solutions where others saw only problems. Jin activated the comm to speak with her directly. "What are you thinking?" "Key, the Krellians can't understand sacrifice." "Right. They make every decision based on logical benefit to themselves. But what if we showed them something they've never encountered before? What if someone volunteered to do something that makes no logical sense?" The command center fell silent except for the hum of overworked machinery and the distant rumble of the life support systems. Jin felt a cold knot forming in his stomach as he began to understand what Key was suggesting. "Key, whatever you're thinking, we can find another way. Captain, look at the tactical display." Her voice was steady, but Jin could hear the determination. Underneath, that command ship is coordinating the entire Krellian fleet. It's their brain, their nerve center. If we could take it out, the rest of their ships would lose coordination. Yushin was already running calculations on her tactical computer. "Key, even if we could get close enough to damage the ship, it would be a one-way trip. Their point." Defense systems would destroy anything we launched at them. Not if someone piloted the attack craft manually. Key's voice came through the speakers with frightening calm. I've been studying their defensive patterns. They're designed to stop missiles and torpedoes, not a human pilot making random course corrections. I could take one of our maintenance pods, pack it with explosives from the mining charges, and fly it directly into their command ship. The silence stretched for long seconds before John spoke up from his analysis station. Captain, from a tactical standpoint, she's right. The Krellians would never expect someone to voluntarily sacrifice themselves for others. It goes against every logical principle they understand. Jin closed his eyes, feeling the weight of command pressing down on him. Like a physical force, Kinam was one of his best engineers, barely out of university. With her whole life ahead of her, the idea of sending her on a suicide mission made him sick to his stomach. There has to be another way, he said quietly. Sir, Key's voice was gentle, but firm. I've run the numbers. Even if we hold out for another few days, eventually our life support will fail or their fleet will overwhelm us. But if we can break their command structure, if we can show them something they've never seen before, maybe we can save not just Terra Station, but every human colony they're planning to attack. Honcho's voice crackled through the comm from the weapons bay. Captain, Key's right about their defensive systems. I've been watching their point defense patterns, and they're completely automated. They shoot at anything that follows a predictable trajectory. But a human pilot could fly erratically enough to get through the viewport. Jin watched the Krellian command ship hanging in space like a predator confident in its power. The alien vessel pulsed with energy, probably processing thousands of calculations every second as it tried to understand human behavior. Key, Jin said into the comm, his voice heavy. Are you absolutely certain about this? Yes, sir. And Captain, make sure John records everything. When the other human colonies see what happens next, they need to understand that sometimes the most illogical thing you can do is exactly what needs to be done. Jin looked round the command center at his exhausted crew. These ordinary people, who had somehow become humanity's first line of defense against an alien empire. In a few minutes, they were about to show the Krellian something that would shatter every assumption the aliens had obo. At Logical Warfare. Keenam's maintenance pod streaked across the void like a shooting star carrying death in its belly. Captain Jinli watched through Terra Station's viewport as the tiny craft weaved between Krellian defensive fire, dodging energy beams that could vaporize a small moon. The alien point defense systems fired in perfect patterns, but Key was flying, like no computer could predict, rolling and spinning through space with the wild unpredictability that only a human pilot could manage. She's through their outer perimeter, Yushin reported from her tactical station, her voice tight with amazement. Captain, the Krellian ships are breaking formation. They're trying to intercept her, but they can't predict her flight path. The maintenance pod was never designed for combat, just a simple work vehicle meant for external repairs on the station. But Key had packed it with every explosive charge they could spare, turning the humble craft into a guided missile with a human heart through the comm system. They could hear her breathing as she pushed the little ship beyond its design limits. Almost there, Key's voice crackled through the speakers. The command ship is trying to move, but it's too big to change course quickly. Jin, tell everyone back home that humans don't go quietly into the dark. The Krellian command ship was a massive structure, easily 3 kilometers long and bristling with weapon systems that could crack planets. But all that firepower meant nothing against one human who had decided that some things were worth dying for. Key's pod slammed into the alien ship's central hull with the force of a small nuclear explosion. The blast lit up space like a newborn star. The Krellian command ship shuddered. its perfect hull cracking open like an eggshell. Secondary explosions rippled along its length as Key's mining charges triggered the alien vessel's own power systems. For a moment, the massive ship hung in space, trailing fire and atmosphere, before its central core went critical. "Command ship is destroyed." Han Cho's voice roared through the comm system. Key did it. She actually did it. But the real miracle wasn't the destruction of one alien vessel. It was what happened next. The remaining Krellian ships, which had maintained perfect formation for 8 days of siege, suddenly scattered like startled birds. Without their command ship to coordinate their movements, the alien fleet began to fragment. John Park was monitoring their communications, his face pale. "With shock, Captain, the Krellian ships are broadcasting to each other, but they're not coordinating anymore. They're asking questions. They want to know why a human would destroy herself to save others." Through the tactical display, Jin could see the alien ships pulling back from Terra Station, their perfect siege formation collapsing into chaos. Some vessels were trying to regroup, while others seemed to be arguing among themselves in whatever language the Krellians use. "They don't understand," Jin said quietly, watching the alien fleet struggle with concepts that every human child learned before they could walk. They can't process the idea that someone would sacrifice themselves for others. Now one suddenly straightened at her communication station, pressing her earpiece against her head. "Captain, I'm picking up new signatures on the long-range sensors. Multiple ships approaching from the direction of Earth." The main display shifted to show the edge of the solar system, where dozens of new contacts were burning hard toward Terra Station. Jin felt his heart leap as he recognized the energy signatures of human ships. But these weren't the small patrol craft that usually defended the outer colonies. Those are military vessels. Yushin breathed, studying the tactical readout. "Captain, that's the Third Fleet." Earth Command sent the entire Third Fleet. The human reinforcements dropped out of hyperspace like avenging angels, their ships gleaming with fresh armor and loaded with the kind of weapons that could turn the tide of any battle. The fleet was led by the battleship Indomitable, a massive vessel that dwarfed even the largest Krellian ships. Admiral Chen Wei's voice boomed through Terra Station's communication system, carrying the authority of Earth's military command. "Terra Station, this is Admiral Chen of the Third Fleet. We received your tactical data and implemented your defensive strategies across all human colonies. The Krellian advance has been stopped." Jin activated the station's main comm, his voice hoarse from 8 days of siege. "Admiral, this is Captain Jinli. Terra Station is barely operational, but we're still here. Captain, what you and your crew accomplished here has changed everything. The tactics you developed, the data you transmitted. It's given humanity the tools we need to fight back." The Krellians thought they were conquering another weak species, but they found something they never expected. Through the viewport, Jin watched the remaining Krellian ships fleeing toward the edge of the system, their perfect formation shattered by the arrival of human reinforcements. The aliens were broadcasting surrender signals, their confidence broken by 8 days of human stubbornness and one act of incomprehensible sacrifice. "Sir," John Park looked up from his analysis station, wonder in his voice. "I'm monitoring Krellian communications across multiple systems. They're not just retreating from our territory. They're sharing information about humans with other alien species. They're warning everyone that Earth's children are dangerous." The Third Fleet moved into formation round Terra Station, their ships forming a protective barrier that the Krellians had never been able to create. But more than that, they brought news from across human space. "Captain," Admiral Chen's voice continued, "every human colony that received your tactical data successfully repelled Krellian attacks. The mining platforms, the research stations, even the agricultural worlds, They all fought back using the methods you developed. You didn't just save Terra Station, you saved our entire species. Jin looked round the command center at his exhausted crew. Min Jiang was unconscious at his engineering station, finally allowing himself to sleep after keeping their life support running for 8 days. Su Park and Bo Kim were hugging each other, tears streaming down their faces. Honcho's voice could be heard cheering from the weapons bay, while Yushin sat quietly at her tactical station, still monitoring the retreating alien fleet. Now one, Jin said quietly. Send a message to all human colonies. Tell them that Terra Station held the line. But more importantly, tell them that we learn something about ourselves. When humanity is cornered, when our backs are against the wall, we don't just fight back. We do things that the rest of the galaxy considers impossible through the communications ray. Word spread across human space and beyond. The story of Terra Station, of Ginam's sacrifice, of 8 days when ordinary people became legends, traveled from world to world. In alien councils across the galaxy, species that had never heard of Earth began to whisper about the humans who refused to surrender. The Krellian Empire, which had conquered 12 different worlds, retreated to their own territory and never again attempted to invade human space. They had learned that some species were too dangerous to conquer, too unpredictable to defeat, and too stubborn to break. Jin stood at the viewport, watching the human fleet patrol the space round Terra Station, and realized that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the galaxy, and they had announced their presence in a way that would never be forgotten. The end.